his views are actually much more nuanced than that. So maybe go and research it.
I've actually listened to him at length.
Oh, well, you've strawmanned his position, so maybe listen again.
Forcing women to stay at home, subjugated in domestic life, is also fairly dangerous.
Obviously, you've been feminized by the feminism that is in the water that you drink and the air that you breathe, my friend.
Oh, a new shocking report calls violence against women and girls a national emergency. That's as 3,000 offences are recorded every single day.
Well, police chiefs warn that young men are being radicalised online into extreme misogyny by influencers like Andrew Tate, in the same way that terrorists draw in followers.
So are influencers like Andrew Tate radicalising young boys online, and could they even be to blame for rising violence against women?
Well, the writer and broadcaster Emma Webb says influencers like Andrew Tate are promoting misogyny, while the podcaster Jake Julius says boys need more masculine role models. Well, OK, Jake, let's have you put your case first.
Well, I think that the real problem you're looking at here, particularly with the UK, is that you have a feminized liberal culture that has imported a much more masculine culture with mass immigration of Islamic people. And these people have very pronounced ideas about gender roles, and these people don't believe that Timmy can become Tammy if he decides to, if his blue hair Marxist teacher tells him he can. So you guys have a lot bigger problems to worry about than Andrew Tate, so it's laughable.
OK, well, Emma, Andrew Tate, lots of people have mentioned. I think even teachers are now warning against Andrew Tate in the classroom. How much influence do you think he has? And is he promoting misogyny in a way that could potentially encourage men and young boys to be violent against women?
Well, he is very popular, but actually I do agree with Jake. I think that we do have much bigger problems than Andrew Tate when it comes to people's attitudes towards women. The problem with Andrew Tate is that he is very popular, but he's also, I don't think, a very good role model for young men. I don't think he's a role model of traditional male values in any way. And I don't think, in many ways, actually, that he is promoting the opposite of the kind of manners that we want young boys to have towards women.
Emma, I think your line is a bit inaudible, so we'll try and fix that. And shall we turn back to Jake? Because the problem is Andrew Tate.
Yeah, I've seen some of it.
Jake, I've seen a lot of clips of Andrew Tate, and I've watched some interviews with him, and he seems to almost be radicalising himself. He seems to have gone from sort of promoting, men need to stand up for themselves and be strong partners to women, to actually women are property and women are of lesser value. Do you think that's fair to say, that he's got more extreme in his position?
No, I don't. I think, first of all, you have to understand that a lot of what he does is on Twitter. It's comedy. So you have to take it with a pinch of salt. And if you actually listen to his interviews in more detail, you'll find that his views are actually much more nuanced than that. So maybe go and research it. But some of the things that Andrew Tate does not promote...
Jake, I've actually listened to him at length. I've actually listened to him at length.
Oh, well, you've strawmanned his position, so maybe listen again. But some of the positions that he doesn't promote are things like crime, pornography, transgenderism, video games, male feminism, drinking, taking drugs, and also New Age spiritualism. Some things that men are actually turning towards that are actually destructive.
Well, it could be argued that men turning towards forcing women to stay at home and be subjugated in domestic life is also fairly dangerous, perhaps more dangerous than video games.
Well, this is the thing that obviously you've been feminized by the feminism that is in the water that you drink and the air that you breathe, my friend. But this is the problem with feminism, and that they think that women are being subjugated when actually a lot of women would love to stay home. A lot of women would love to be stay-at-home mothers. And actually, it's one of the most difficult jobs that you can possibly do is raise people. So if you raise 3 or 4 people and you're a mother, then you've done an amazing thing. But unfortunately, with messaging like this, the feminist messaging will actually denigrate motherhood. A lot of women won't feel subjugated, I'll tell you that much.
Find it hard to sort of understand how I've been feminised if I think that women have a role in the workplace. I don't quite see how that is more feminine. But shall we turn back to Emma Webb? Let's hope that your audio is working. What do you make of this entire dichotomy?
Look, just to repeat what I said in case people couldn't hear me, I don't think that Andrew Tate is the problem when it comes to violence against women. I think that he's not a good role model for young men. I think that men lack good role models. Many men, increasingly young boys, are living in households where they don't consistently have a father present. And I actually think that Jake is right about mass migration. Do you think that people leave their misogynistic culture at the border when they migrate to a new country? No, of course they don't. And there was one example recently of somebody who raped a child in Germany and was somehow in the UK for 5 months before being arrested. So we have all sorts of problems beside Andrew Tate, but that doesn't mean that he isn't a malign influence in the sense that he isn't a good role model. And I think actually the way that the term misogyny is used can also be a problem, because very often people are accused of sexism if they open a door for a woman or pull out a chair for a woman. But actually, I think restoring some of those traditional manners between men and women would actually deal with part of the problem, because many of the ways that people now behave towards women, particularly influenced by pornography culture. I mean, more than half of sexual offences committed against children, according to the NPCC, are committed by other children. So you have all of these other problems, and the real elephant in the room, of course, is the fact that we effectively have no control over our border. We do not know who is coming in, and of course, that's going to put women and children at risk. So yes, I do think that Andrew Tate is not a good role model, but I think that we have a much, much bigger problem on our hands.
Okay, and Jake, just to challenge you on these online influencers like Andrew Tate, I find that a lot of them are very outspoken about how people should be living their lives. So marriage and having children and looking after your family and working hard. But then you look at them and they're not really living their lives in that way. They're usually unmarried. They usually got lots of girlfriends. They're usually just flashing superficial things like a new car and whatever else. Not necessarily living by the standards that they set for other men.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very fair assessment. You'd have to tell me specific examples. If you're talking about Andrew Tate, I'm sure you're aware that he's converted to Islam, so he believes in the whole having 5 wives thing. I don't believe in that. But I think the more important issue here that our other guest, I'm so sorry I forgot your name, but just
Emma.
raised is the fact that is that you guys have like a lot of mass migration happening, which is a big problem. And this is something that's not new, guys. Tommy Robinson was talking about this over a decade ago when he was saying that there are grooming gangs grooming young women in English towns, and the media and the police wanted nothing to do with it.
Yeah, and there have been a number of inquiries into that now, and thankfully the problem is being addressed and much more spoken about in the mainstream, not least by our own Charlie Peters, who made a fantastic documentary on the grooming gang scandal, aired here on GB News. I'm afraid we've run to the end of that conversation, but Jake Julius and Emma Webb, thank you so much for your contributions. Really interesting stuff.
Thank you very much
Thank you for
indeed.
having me.
I think it's, you can easily disapprove of people like Andrew Tate, and there's a lot to disapprove about, believe me. I mean, just watch some of his stuff. You don't have to be a rampant feminist not to like this man. He really does come out with some awful stuff, in my opinion. But I think it's a stretch to say that therefore men are committing more violent crimes against women as a result. I mean, potentially